Hello! We are making another video. We are on game 13 of the most instructive games of chess ever played by Irving Chernev. This game is a game from 1896. It was played in Nuremberg, Germany, and it's between M. Porges and Emanuel Lasker. Emanuel Lasker is famous. Why is he famous?
He's a world champion.
Which world champion was he?
Number 2?
He was the number 2 world champion. So he beat Wilhelm Steinitz, and then after him came Capablanca.
Doesn't he also have like an opening after him?
I don't know of an opening that is named after Lasker, but he was also a mathematician, and he was well known for being a good practical player. So here, the introduction says that Lasker plays a restricted position, but shows that a restricted position is not that necessarily a bad thing. So that means that he's going to have a position with less space, but he's attacking his opponent's position from far away. And the big lesson of this game is the way that he takes the initiative and makes lots of good threats in a row. So we've talked about good threats and bad threats. What's the difference between a good threat and a bad threat in chess?
A good threat is good, but like a good threat actually has like a meaning for it and not just threatening for the sake of threatening.
Exactly.
But a bad threat is just
Exactly. So a good threat does something positive for your position no matter what your opponent does. If they ignore it, you carry out your threats and do something good. Or if they respond to it, something good happens to you anyway. A bad threat is a threat that you're just making because you're hoping that your opponent will overlook it. But in a bad threat, your opponent might have some defense that makes their position better or makes your position worse. So let's see what happens in this game. We're putting it straight from the book this time instead of having a preloaded game. So this game started with e4, e5, knight f3, knight c6. What's this opening called?
Roy Lopez.
Okay, it's a pretty major king pawn opening. And knight f6.
Roy Lopez opening Berlin defense.
Yeah, so knight f6 is the Berlin. The other main move that is played here is a6, kicking the bishop right away.
Roy Lopez opening Washi defense.
So he says that Lasker preferred this move, which develops a piece, to the popular move a6. So white castles. And there was a pawn on e4, so black
So this
takes
must
it.
be a gambit, right? Because we're hanging a pawn.
Well,
It's not always a gambit when they hang a pawn. Well, I mean, like in the opening.
yeah, so usually to be called a gambit, the other person has to be able to keep this pawn. For example, a common gambit is the Smithmore Gambit in the Sicilian, or actually an even more common one is the Evans Gambit, which occurs after bishop c5, bishop c4, bishop c5, and b4.
Evans should play the Evans Gambit.
Yeah. Well, it's not really Evan's style, this kind of opening. Evan likes to play solid openings. This is like a risky, aggressive opening. But the point is that we can clearly take this pawn with the bishop, and white gets quick development in return, but he's going to be down a pawn for a while. Here, white is going to have to, black is going to have to give back this pawn relatively quickly. So here's what Lasker said about this, giving up this pawn. He had a quote about it. He said, "When you are conscious not to have violated the rules laid down, you should accept the sacrifice of an important pawn, as the king pawn, queen pawn, or one of the bishop pawns. If you do not, as a rule, the pawn which you have rejected will become very troublesome to you. Do not accept the sacrifice, however, with the idea of maintaining your material advantage at the expense of development. Such a policy never pays in the end. By far, the better plan is to give the pawn up after your opponent has made some exertions to gain it." What do you think that meant?
Just don't like not take it because it might become very dangerous.
Okay. Yeah, basically. So basically what he said is that if your opponent gives you a center pawn, you should generally take it, because center pawns are important, right? Especially pawns on the E or the D file. But he's also saying not to be too greedy, because if you try to hold on to this pawn too hard, then your opponent might be able to get a huge lead in development or initiative,
Yeah.
and give you a lot of problems.
While in the end game you'll still have pieces to develop.
Yes, exactly.
That's not good.
Yeah, so we don't want to fall too far behind to development or go too crazy holding on to this pawn, but it's a center pawn, so we take it. Okay, so here's what white does. He plays d4, immediately hitting the center, and we have to be careful here because there are 2 open files and our king is still far away from castling. So Lasker, instead of taking this pawn, which would be very risky, opening everything up, he plays bishop e7, getting ready to castle. Okay, queen comes to attack our knight, and he says this is stronger than d takes d5, which lets black free his game by the strong move d5 hitting the center, takes en passant, and knight d6. And now black is ready to castle. He's totally fine. So queen e2 is putting a little more pressure on. Knight d6. Bishop takes c6, which removes the defender of this knight. That's why white is making this trade.
Mm-hmm.
E takes c6. So white gets his pawn back.
Okay.
And knight to b7. So the knight has to go backwards, but it's going to come back to the e6 square. It's going to go here and here, and then the knight will control the center. Okay, b3. So he criticizes this move. He says that the fianchetto bishop doesn't put much pressure on black's position. So the idea of b3 was to go bishop b2. But Chernev says it doesn't put much pressure on his position, and that instead he should just simply develop with knight c3, or possibly even knight d4, planning to play knight f5, which would be starting to attack black's weak kingside squares. So we castle. Bishop e2. What would you play in this position and why?
In this position, I wouldn't do something too big. I would go something like d6. Well, not really d5. d6.
Why not d5?
d5, it can take on passant.
Okay, but d6 they can take the same way, right?
Oh my gosh. So either one of those.
Okay. So which one do you think is stronger, d5? Also, one thing to realize is that after d5 and e takes d6, and d6, e takes d6, it's exactly the same position.
Oh wait, yeah.
Right? So it's kind of the same thing if they capture. So which would you prefer to do, d5 or d6?
I would go d6.
Why?
I mean, it's the same position, but actually, because d6 will open this bishop.
So will d5.
Okay, d6. I mean, it ends either way. I'll play either one.
So what if they don't take en passant? Would you rather have your pawn on d6 or d5?
If they can't take en passant, d5.
Yeah, d5, because pawns in the center are good. So the pawn on d5 would be a really strong pawn. It would be a protected pawn in the center. So after d5, they're probably going to take it. Is that trade of pawns good or bad for us?
Good.
Why? I agree, but there's an important reason why.
Oh, because you're up a pawn.
No, you're not. It's
Wait,
just
what?
an equal trade, one pawn for one pawn.
No. You're up a pawn at the end of a position.
No, we lose one pawn and we get one pawn back. It's an even trade.
Oh wait,
That's
yeah.
not why. I'll give you a hint. d5 allows us, d5 e takes d6, allows us to change the pawn structure in a way that's...
Oh yeah, we won't have double pawn.
Exactly. So after d5, E takes d6 is kind of necessary, otherwise we have a happy pawn on d5 row. And after e takes d6, we fix our doubled pawns. And the other factor is that we now have a pawn in the center, and white does not. So we fix our double pawns, which was our weakness in our structure, and we get a pawn in the center, and white doesn't. In addition, we have two bishops, and they don't, in this pretty wide open position. So the position is looking pretty nice for black already. Queen, knight to queen 2. And we play rook e8. So black is already threatening some stuff against white's queen by putting his rook here, right? There are possible bishop discoveries right away. So now he plays a risky looking move. Rook a to e1. Rook f to e1 is what he plays. Yeah, he says if instead queen to d3, then knight c5 forces the queen back. Since this move loses the exchange, what does it lose the exchange to?
It loses it to bishop a6.
Bishop a6 with a skewer. And this move is dangerous after bishop f6, which is another skewer here, and then we can start attacking into pieces, and this is very bad. White is going to lose some material. Okay, so rook f to e1. So, do you think the discovery bishop f6 is good or bad here?
I don't think it's good here.
Why not? It's attacking their queen and their bishop.
But the thing is, queen takes c8, queen takes c8, rook takes c8.
Exactly.
And it's back rank.
So bishop f6 would be a big blunder. So Lasker makes a move that prepares a move like bishop.
It would be a double blunder.
Yes, it would be definitely a double question mark to play bishop f6.
No, like a double blunder, so like it would be 4 question marks.
Possibly, it would be very bad. So he plays bishop d7. This is a good move. He keeps developing and he stops the back rank stuff. Now bishop f6 is ready to happen. Knight to e4. Yeah, this is really asking for it because this rook is dangerous with all these threats of pins down this file, and white's not really doing anything about it. Yeah, instead he needed to do something a little much more modest, like queen f1.
But Daddy.
Yes.
So right here in this position, now it's okay to go here because it won't be made in 1.
Wait, what? Sorry.
So if bishop f6, actually if queen takes e8, queen takes e8, rook takes e8, rook takes e8.
Well, if queen takes e8, I'm not taking it with the queen. I'm going to take it with the bishop and be up a queen. That's my main threat here. So white has to do something about this. It's just that knight e4 is really asking for it because he hasn't fixed his e-file yet.
Yeah.
What do you think black should do now? What move would you choose and why?
Okay, I would go. Here's what I would do. I would go bishop f5. Why? Because after knight d3, a move like that. Now it looks like we can go bishop g5.
Bishop g5. So in this position, all your pieces are hanging. So you played bishop f5, knight g3. Your bishop is now hanging on f5. And after bishop g5, both your bishops are hanging. Right?
Well,
so white just...
queen.
Yeah, but white just takes twice now on e8, right? Queen takes e8. Your bishop's not defending it anymore. So queen takes e8, rook takes e8, check, rook takes e8. This is just a trade. And now I take either one of your bishops because they're both hanging, right? Let's look at this line. So bishop f5, knight g3, bishop g5. Takes, and I can take either bishop. They're both hanging to these knights.
Oh, no.
So this is why we always have to check if our opponent can capture our stuff after we make a move. So bishop f5, we have to reject. It's too slow. But what we really want to do here is cause him problems on the e file. So what is the move that increases our control of the center and starts ripping open the e file? We have a more violent move than that. Let's just tear open the e file. The knight is blocking that. Is blocking our. Can't he take that? F takes g5. Well, now he can take that with check, so you have to be careful.
Oh, wait, hold on.
I don't understand. What's the idea? Because he can at least play knight takes h4, right?
Okay, then. Well,
So let me show you.
No, hold on. Just for 5.
So that was the move that we already tried, but it's a little slow.
Wait, d5.
Yeah, d5 is the move. So d5 is making a threat, but this is a good threat.
Yay.
Because if he just leaves his knight there, we take it. If he moves his knight, then we've got an open file with this rook pointing at white's queen, and then we have all these bishop discoveries to work with. So d5, no matter what, is good for our position.
Yay.
The other thing that's good about d5 is that pawns in the center are good, and this d5 pawn is a very strong pawn in the center. Black has a much better grip of the center now. So the knight has to retreat, which is sad. Yeah, he says if instead, now you see here, then we can win an exchange like this. And knight to c3 loses a piece to this discovery. We take and we're attacking everything.
So we're just winning.
So knight e to e2. Now what would you play and why? Now you're going to have to calculate a little bit.
Why not just bishop c5?
Why is bishop c5 good?
It attacks. Oh wait, no, wait. The queen can move. The queen can move. Okay then. Well, bishop f6. F6.
Okay. What would white do after bishop f6?
Bishop f6. I mean, I'm attacking the bishop and the queen. So
That's true. So what would white do about that?
Bishop takes f6.
Okay. And then what would you do?
The queen takes f6. Queen takes f6.
Okay. Then what? Then what?
So hold on. Bishop f6. Bishop takes f6. Queen takes f6. Yeah. Actually, bishop f6. Bishop takes f6. Because I think now I'm just.
You have to calculate in your head and chest.
Yeah, no, I am, but like I think I'm just.
Nope. We gotta calculate in your head.
No, but that at that point, I think I'm just gonna get the queen. I think.
Why? So bishop f6, bishop takes f6, queen takes f6.
Oh wait, then they have queen d3.
Yeah, I'm allowed to move my queen, right? I have queen d1, queen f1, queen d3, queen a6. There's lots of safe squares for white's queen.
Oh, I don't think that works.
Yeah, so bishop f6, we can calculate it, but the problem is bishop takes f6 attacks our queen, right? So if rook takes d2, they also take our queen. And this is just a big trade. We have better than that. So bishop f6, it is a discovery, it is attacking a couple of things, but he can trade everything off and be okay. So we're not
What
so
is it?
happy about bishop f6. We have a better discovery.
What is it?
Well, what's another discovery that attacks white's bishop? There's another
No,
way to
bishop
check.
a3, bishop
Yeah,
a3,
bishop a3.
bishop a3.
Now he doesn't have this. Now, let's try to calculate a little further. Bishop a3 is attacking two things. Queen takes e2, and bishop, it's threatening rook takes e2 and also bishop takes b2, okay? There is one move that doesn't hang material immediately for whites. What is it? Try to see if you can find it.
Bishop D, bishop f6.
Now, bishop f6, I can just take it, right? I can just take that.
Yeah,
So how does white keep his bishop on the board after bishop a3? There's only one move that does it.
Bishop e5.
Bishop e5. And now let's calculate one move farther and then we'll stop. Black has a strong move to continue making threats.
f6.
f6 is very strong, attacking the pinned piece. So, bishop a3 happened in the game. Then bishop e5, it's the only move. There was another move, queen a6, which is a counter-attacking move. It's moving his queen and attacking our knight, but it's not really an option because after takes we're attacking his rook. So, bishop e5, f6, very strong move. So we're attacking the pinned piece. Here, white has one more move to keep the game alive. White has an only move. There's only one move he can even try to not be just down a piece for nothing. What does white have to play here?
He has to play bishop to c7.
No, then I just take it.
Oh wait, yeah. So wait, what is it?
He can't move that bishop or he's going to lose his queen. So you have to look for a counter-attacking move. White has a move to deal with the pin and also make an
bishop takes f6.
No, then I just take it. I just take a free piece.
Alright, well,
That's
true. What is it? I don't know.
So it's a counter-attacking move. We're going to move the queen off of this pin and attack some new pieces. Queen a6, right? So now if you take my bishop, I can take one of these two pieces. This is actually a fork. But, so all of this was forced, and he plays queen takes a3 here. The reason he plays queen takes a3 just generally is this is a position that is open. There's lots of open lines, and bishops tend to be better than knights, especially this knight, which is kind of in the corner and not really in the game. But if he plays queen takes here, then like something like e4 happens, and this bishop can come back to d6, where it can be a huge attacker. The bishop is a very dangerous piece in this position. So queen takes a3 is what happens in the game. So all of this was forced, and so far we've just traded off material with all these attacking moves. But we've actually done something that is very good. Number one, we have this huge center. We now have 2 pawns in the center, white has none. And center pawns are very, very good. Number two is white's queen is misplaced. It's over here on the side of the board where it's kind of sad and not doing anything. And number three is we can keep building an initiative by making new threats and gaining more space. We play the move e4, advancing our pawns, gaining more space in the center, and chasing this knight all around. So e4 happens, knight to d4, and
How many moves are there?
there's like 10 more moves in the game, 15 more moves.
Jeez.
Now we play a very strong move. We make another threat to also improve our position. So queen f6 is attacking this knight, but it's also doing something important, which is bringing the queen to the f file where it can start attacking white's weak king side. Basically, there are no white pieces over here to defend this king, and so our pieces are going to start flowing in and throwing punches against white's king. Yeah, Chernev says that black's pieces are all ready to go for a kingside attack, and white's pieces are disorganized and they're getting kicked around. Yeah, it's already awkward to defend this knight. He plays pawn c3. Rook f8, so we make another threat. But also we do something good by bringing a piece in for our kingside attack. And white plays f3. Yeah, if rook f1, then we can win material by playing oh yeah, we can win material by playing queen g5. Attacking this knight, and then next is bishop h3, and we win material because we're threatening mate in this rook. So f3 played in the game. Queen g5, exclam. So we're attacking this knight, but we're also pinning this pawn, making e takes f3 very dangerous, and bishop h3. So our queen is getting ready to join the attack. Okay. Queen c1, defending his knight. What should black play next? Black has another move that makes a threat and improves his pieces. What should he play now?
Bishop h3.
Okay, bishop h3 is threatening mate. How did you think white would defend it?
g3.
Okay, g3. Then what?
E takes f3.
Okay, what do you think that black would do? Or that that white would do?
Knight 4 takes f3.
So I'm not going to play knight 4 takes f3. I'm definitely playing this knight takes f3 because I want to trade the queens. All right, if I'm white, I'm getting attacked and I want to trade the queens. And after knight 2 takes f3, maybe that slows us down a little.
Yeah, knight 2 takes f3.
I don't think that bishop h3 is bad by any means, but he plays an even stronger move. So right now, this knight is black's only piece that's doing nothing, right? Well, I mean, also this rook. But the knight is doing nothing. We can improve the knight immediately and make a new threat.
Knight c5.
Yeah, knight c5 is very strong because we're threatening to jump into knight d3. And also, if the knight comes to d3, it could even come to f4 and pile up more on the king side. So this is a very good move, fixing this knight, yes. So knight c5. The knight enters with powerful effect. He goes knight f1. So this is stopping knight d3, but threatening to trade the queens. Do you think that that we should trade the queens here?
Oh no, definitely not.
Definitely not. Why not?
If you do, it's basically just resigning. Like this, the queen is basically your most powerful piece here.
Exactly.
But if you trade the queens, it's like, it's not like you're gonna be losing. It's just gonna be really hard.
Exactly, yeah. We have a big attack here, so we want to keep the queens on no matter what. So white is like desperate to trade the queens, and we say no queen trade for you, no matter what. Queen g6, keeping the queens on the board.
Unless it makes a mate in 1, which it...
Yeah, like if we can win material by trading the queens, then sure.
Yeah.
But here we want to keep the queens on and keep making our threats on g2. Specifically, keeping the queen on the g file is good because it keeps this pin on the board. So white plays rook e3, and we carry out our idea of playing knight d3. And queen d1. Okay, one more important move for black here. How do we keep our attack going?
We can go... E takes f3. Okay, modern. Actually, bishop h3. Bishop h3.
Okay, bishop h3 is threatening mate. How will he defend against it?
G3.
He has a better move than G3, actually. What about knight G3?
Oh.
Because knight G3 blocks the G file and also it kicks your bishop away.
Mm-hmm.
So I would reject bishop H3 after seeing knight G3. Because I have to retreat my bishop.
E takes F3, E takes F3.
Okay, E takes F3. You have to be careful because you are threatening mate, but also your knight is now hanging. So rook takes F3. What did you have in mind?
Rook takes F3.
Okay, queen takes F3.
Rook F8.
Okay, maybe something like queen G3. Trade. And I don't know. So this is another thing where this pawn is very good, and this pawn is only a target. So white is happy to trade these pawns, and if we don't get something special for it, we shouldn't make the trade. Because this pawn is very good. It's anchoring in our knight, and it's like giving us a big advantage in space in the center. So black plays a move that doesn't have any of these problems. Bishop H3 gets traded away. E takes F3 is making a bunch of trades. He plays the move knight F4. Knight F4 has two threats. Number one is queen takes G2 mates. Number two is knight H3 check, king H1, and knight F2 winning a whole queen. So knight F4 has two threats. So white has to play knight G3 to stop the checks and also cover G2. And now black plays a very strong move to give white a new problem. So the knight on G3 is like what's keeping white's position together, right?
Yes.
So we play a move to kick it away.
Queen takes, no. Knight H5.
Well, knight H5, the problem with it is that you're giving up your beautiful attacker.
Okay. Then show me.
The idea is H5. So we keep our beautiful attacker on F4, and now we create a new threat of H4, kicking this knight away. So H5 is a very strong move. This knight comes to E2. And now here comes a tactic. Black has a tactic to start tearing white's position apart. He plays the move knight takes G2. Exclam. What's the idea if king takes G2?
H4.
Okay, H4. So we're gonna take back on G3, and then it will be a big even trade. But have these trades been good or bad for us?
Good.
Why? Why is it good?
Because it's getting white's important pieces off the board.
What important pieces are we getting off the board?
Like his knight. His knight.
Well, we don't necessarily want to trade pieces here. So trading pieces is not really an achievement.
Are we trading pawns?
Yeah, so we're getting rid of pawns, and specifically the pawns in front of white's king, right?
Yes.
So white's king is protected by pawns here, but after knight takes G2 and H4, his king is much more exposed, right? The pawns in front of his king are disappearing, and our pieces are going to come after his king.
Mm-hmm.
Jack, put your glasses on.
Yeah.
So H4. I think this knight. Oh, whoops! He didn't even play this. He played E takes F3 first. Oh yeah, he has a little combination here. Black has a little trick here. What do you think he played?
Queen E4. I mean, not Queen E4. Queen G4.
Okay, so Queen G4 is making a threat. Can white defend against it?
Not against both.
Well, first of all, he can do something with check, right?
Yeah. Oh wait. Oh yeah, right.
So Queen G4, he can play rook takes F8 check, and get rid of that that rook with check. Instead, there's a move that deflects his king off of this rook, which is bishop h3 check. So we're drawing white's king more into the open, and we're winning in exchange. So he plays king takes h3, and if king f2, then there's a very strong move of bishop g4, attacking this rook. White trades it, but now we bring in a new rook with check. And after king e3, h4, knight f1, all of our pieces start flowing in, queen e4 check, and then rook f2, and white is dead, because the knight on e2 is going to fall. So h4, whoops, yeah, king takes h3 was played in the game. Now we can win a whole rook with check. How do we do it?
Queen g4.
Yeah, queen g4 is a more forceful way to win the material, right? Rook takes a3 is possible right away, but it's not check. It gives white a move. Here we play check, and then we take a whole rook with check. King here. Yeah, on king h3 we have a little combination to win a piece.
G5.
G5 is probably so good. But maybe
happened in the game.
On g5 we have knight d4, and g4 is not, you're not threatening. Oh, well, maybe you are. Queen f6. I don't know. So you probably can't get away with this. Maybe you can. I don't know. H3. I don't know. White might be getting away with this, actually, surprisingly. So yeah, g5 is not necessarily the most forceful, but a very clear way to win a piece is check and h4, and the knight is pinned. White's knight is toast here. So king g1 happened to the game. h4, attacking the knights. Knight to h1, because on knight f1 I had h3 followed by mate.
And they resign.
He can't defend against mate. He has to play something like knight f4, and then I just take the knights, and I'm still totally crashing through. So knight h1 was played in the game.
h3 and then they resign.
H3 probably is totally winning here. He played a different move. But yeah, h3 because queen f1, then we would have queen e3 check winning the whole. Well, the knight f2 actually. But h3 queen f1, at least there's queen g4 check winning everything. However, he played a move that leads to mate in 2. There's mate in 2 here for black.
Queen g4. No, queen e3.
Then what?
Knight f2, queen takes f2, king h1.
Oh, yeah, okay, yeah, actually after queen e3 there is knight f2, but okay, well, once we take that knight with check, then we're just winning. Okay. What if they go queen e3 check, king g2?
Then we just go h3.
h3 is mate, yeah. So, Lasker played queen e3 and white resigned, because after king g2 there's mate, and after this move, I mean, everything wins. Maybe even the fastest way is to go rook takes f2, and we're threatening discovered check, and also the knights, and this is totally over. So this was a nice game by Lasker. He made a bunch of threats, but all of the threats that he made improved something about his position. That's why they were good threats. So let's quickly go through this again. So rook e8, threatening discoveries and centralizing the rook. So d5 attacks the knight, but also it clears the e file and puts our pawns in the center. Bishop a3 is forcing this combination that ends up with a massive pawn center for us, and white's pieces all scattered. e4 is gaining space and chasing his knight around to a weak square. Queen f6 is getting ready to put rooks on the open file. Rook f8 puts a rook on the open file, so it's improving our rook. Queen g5 is attacking this, but also creating a dangerous pin and setting up our kingside attack. Knight c5 is threatening a fork, but also bringing our knight into the game.
Yeah.
Knight d3 is getting ready to play knight f4. This is making a bunch of threats and putting our knight on a really good square where it's a great attacker. h5 is prying away his only defender. And then this combination just tears, doesn't lose material and tears white's king apart. So we win this with check. And then this removes the last defender of white's king. And then we have forced mate, or we win everything after knight f2. Okay. That is going to wrap up this video. Yeah, that was a longer game, but it was a good one. That was a good instructive game. So we are going to say goodbye for now. What do you say to everybody?